asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
Warning, it's not going to be fast. Now, relatively speaking, the Fast Lane is always fast because it's less than an hour of content, thanks to all of our great partners. You've heard many of them. And TJ, by the way,
time to take a detour in the Fast Lane.
We've got two detours. One of them being, he asked the question about my mom. What was the question, TJ? Repeat it again.
I asked if your mom worked for Bartlett Tree Services.
Bartlett Tree, experts. Got to get it right.
I'm sorry, Bartlett.
That's okay. Bartlett.com is what you need to remember. No, she does not work for them. She's just a fan of their services and has used them at her house. And so, I don't know. I mean, I guess my dad just signed off on it, but my mom is the one who made the decisions, as we all know. So, anyway, she's a fan of them, and she has gotten more notoriety than we have in the Fast Lane over the last month or so since that message has been running. Meanwhile,
after Ed's potentially unnecessary detour, let's get back on the road in the Fast Lane.
Psych. Yes, we're at that age with my kids, 7-year-old boys, where the word psych comes into play. But anyway, not really back on the road from a detour, just a different one.
Time to take a detour in the Fast Lane.
But this one's at least sports related. We are going to do a March Madness themed, not so fast, getting through all this, but Fast 5 at 5-ish in just a moment. But when we charted out what to do, sound effects, press conference observations, all of that, one thing we knew did not happen was going to likely happen. Granted, it got a lot closer to showtime than we thought, but that was the Virginia Lady Cavaliers, who have bounced the Iowa Lady Hawkeyes. Lady who's a double overtime victory today at Iowa. First of all, once again, proving a theory that has proven so true over March Madness. Hashtag first to 73. First team to 73 points gets the win. We got to start doing some math on this. One day I'm going to pull the time together, but the eye observation makes it clear. Virginia lost last night because they couldn't quite get to 73. Meanwhile, Tennessee got to 73, 79 to be exact. More on that in a moment. But this is a big step up. Like, I even thought with Virginia beating Georgia on Saturday in the opening round, that alone was a step in the right direction for Coach Mox's team. And to add this on, winning at Iowa, in the Iowa Regional, look, I don't think anybody is under the impression Virginia is going to get to the Final Four. Like, chalk generally holds in women's basketball. Like, the highest seed teams generally do, which is what makes this impressive. Now, this is not Iowa with Caitlin Clark. New coach, no Caitlin Clark. So let's expunge that from our record. But still, it's consistently good program. They finished second in the Big Ten this year and in the Big Ten tournament. Granted, they lost by like 40 to UCLA in the Big Ten tournament championship game. But the gulf between these top teams in women's basketball, even like number one UConn and the other number one seeds and certainly the number two, like it's wide. Whereas in men's basketball, Duke's the number one overall seed, regardless of how they played their first two games of the tournament, as you've heard them on the VTRN Sports app. Like, would it shock anyone if Duke lost in the Sweet 16 to St. John's when they play Friday evening on the VTRN Sports app at 93.3 FM?
No.
Would it shock you, TJ?
No, it would not.
Would it shock you if Michigan lost at some point before the Final Four?
No, it would not. I have them losing anyway.
Would it shock you if Arizona lost, even though you have them winning it all?
You know what? Anything can happen, and Arizona has shown weaknesses.
In men's basketball, it's that way. In women's, it's different. Like, the gulf in seeds is much greater. Like look last night. Iowa beat Florida. And Iowa was the, 8-9 winner. I don't know if they were the 8 or the 9, but whatever.
Yeah, they're 8.
Comparable to Virginia, who was a 10 seed, the Lady Who's who won today. But roster construction, not all that far off. Like, the talent level is not that big of a gap. The financial investment in rosters, Iowa's at the low end of Sweet 16 teams, and they're still over the 6 million mark. Duke's at the high end at 12, according to some information you can glean on the internet. This is a lot of agents that leak the information. They do have a desire to do that to show who's invested, to drive prices up. It's kind of what's going on in all professional sports. College is basically that. But for Virginia, this is really impressive. Like, we're contextualizing it. And the way they won today was also impressive. I think the thing that jumped out to me was in overtime when they went down and tied the game against Iowa with about 5 seconds left.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there going, I don't know if they're going to be able to get the defensive stop. They did. Like, that was the part that probably jumped out to me the most. When they needed to come up with defensive stops, they buckled down defensively.
Yeah.
In particularly the fourth quarter, but especially in the first and second overtimes, which allowed them to get enough of a gulf and a gap on Iowa to pull off the upset. And look, I think there's got to be an effect of playing relaxed. Again, we won't be able to bring you the Coach Mock's press conference. We'll try to chop it up and listen and have some more thoughts on that later this week in the Fast Lane No Show tomorrow. Tech Baseball shows Wednesday and Thursday. Then the Women's Sweet 16 on Friday. By the way, we'll figure out when the Lady Hoos are playing, and we'll keep you updated on that. We do have the rights to carry it, so from Westwood One. So we're grateful for that. But for Virginia, like, you watched more of the game than I did.
Yeah.
Like, I was listening, following the game, and all that, but I really tuned in the fourth quarter and overtime. And I was wowed by the way the Lady Hoos defense jumped out. Everybody's talking about, Paris Johnson and Kimora Johnson and Paris Clark.
Yeah.
Excuse me, getting the two names mixed up. But the way they performed offensively, I look at the way they performed defensively and shutting down Iowa when it mattered most.
No, and they boxed out. Iowa has the same power forward and center that they had when Caitlin Clark was there. And they boxed them out away from getting big-time rebounds. That was impressive. And defensively, UVA just locked up the paint and forced them to take perimeter shots, uncomfortable perimeter shots. It was impressive to watch.
Well, look, we've seen these games. I mean, we heard the Virginia Tech loss earlier in the year to the Lady Hokies, but I remember that one when the Lady Hoos lost to the Lady Hokies, and you're going, wow, okay. Are they just not able to get over the hump in these close games? Carolina, they're inconsistent there. NC State, same thing. And I caught the end of that game because it was the same day they had the North Carolina beat Virginia in men's basketball at JPJ, back when Hubert Davis's job was safe. And, more on that later. I'm surprised he's still the coach now, although I think the reason why is they're trying to drag this thing out with extensions, buyouts, and some of the candidates may or may not be coaching in the Sweet 16. So, I think there are a couple of them, Nate Oates, TJ Otzelberger, Alabama and Iowa State, respectively, where Carolina might be behooved by dragging this out.
You don't cancel the season finale of the coaches show without a change.
No, I mean, exactly. You're not going to cancel that without it. You hit the nail on the head with that. But after that North Carolina win at Virginia, I happened to be sticking around watching the women's game. And they fell down to NC State. They battled back. It's kind of like the flows of this team. This is the first time the last couple of games, Georgia and Iowa, and this is, by the way, big money and big spending, SEC and Big Ten programs that Virginia's been able to hang with. That's what makes this so impressive. More on the Lady Hoos later, including JerryRatcliffe.com founder and contributor Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe. But speaking of the Virginia Cavaliers, more on that right now in...
It's time for Fast Five at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish, because our counting skills are kind of ish. Let's start with number 5.
Virginia, they lost to Tennessee yesterday, and there are a couple of things that jumped out. One of them being that while Virginia was about even with Tennessee in the rebounding margin statistically, what jumped out was, and it started in the first half, and it carried over to a chunk of the second half. Tennessee was adept enough at getting offensive rebounds and at least making Virginia have to work for them. The Tennessee, which I know they played faster this year with Rick Barnes, but prior years they have not. They've liked to slow the game down. They were able to force Virginia into a spot where they never could quite get out into transition and really create that type of more sped-up offense that the Hoos wanted as they came into the game averaging 81 points a game, and they finished with 71. And Ryan Odom touched on how that was a bugaboo for the Hoos.
They definitely have huge size up front, and they play 2 5-men basically for the majority of the game. And we played some teams. Texas was one, that had that type of size. I thought the guys did a nice job. I mean, from a rebounding perspective, where did it end up? We held them to 3 in the first half. They obviously got some more in the second half, but we had 16, and that was one of the things that we talked about from an offensive rebounding standpoint, or rebounding in general. It's like we can't. They're so good on offensive rebound, we can't not go on our side. We're good at it too, and they definitely have guys that can switch, and they started switching at the end of it that are 6'9" and 6'10", and
the switching, the rebounds, all of those things combined to where Virginia could score, but it felt like much more of a drag and not the level of relaxed, comfortable offense. And it was all those little things that added up to give Tennessee the victory over Virginia. One big thing. It was a bunch of little things where you do have to tip your cap to Rick Barnes, who I think gets kind of a bad reputation from his time at Texas, but it was good at Clemson, and he's gotten Tennessee back to the Sweet 16 once again.
The first half, was hurtful for us because we had too many breakdowns, and shouldn't have been at 36, based on some of the things that we did defensively in that game or in that half. And, I think we did a little bit better job of getting the game going, in the second half. And obviously they made some free throws down the stretch, but you got to give them credit. They made the plays they needed to make and answered, at the end when we made our run. And, that's how you win games.
It is. And tip your cap to Tennessee. They outscored Virginia 9-1 over the last 2 or so minutes of the game, winning 79-72. Virginia at one point led around the 2-minute mark, 71-70. And it was all those little things that added up. This is not a Virginia program that's far off. Hard to go year to year with the roster. That's a topic for a later date. As far as Virginia, they lose 5 seniors. You don't know who else might get priced out, or someone wants to give them an egregious amount of money and an open season free agency. That stuff can happen. But for Virginia, it's a good base year for Ryan Odom's squad. Meanwhile, pivoting off of that too, number 4, the Virginia Tech Lady Hokies in this game that we saw or listened to for a little bit this past Friday. And that is, for Virginia Tech, it felt like they never could get into a rhythm. And when Oregon really turned on the Jets, particularly in the third quarter, but I think even the second quarter, it was the fact that it was what you call being multiple is the big thing, where there are multiple looks, as Megan Duffy noted, that ultimately it created problems for a Virginia Tech team that has shown progress, taken a step forward. They've not won a tournament game, unlike the Lady Hoos, who've won 2 with their upset win at Iowa today, but it's still a step in the right direction for year 2 of the Megan Duffy era. But the Oregon matchup was just a problem for Virginia Tech, particularly their ability to throw different looks at them and speed up Virginia Tech.
We were concerned going into the game with their defense, whether they have a different couple ways they play their man-to-man. Sometimes it's, using their length to disrupt. Sometimes they're getting out in passing lanes, different facets with their man. They got 2 different zones and a press. So, we tried to, pack in as much as we could in, 3 days of preparation and even some stuff the week before to really counter that. And, I thought we were just a little rushed on some of our layups, some short jumpers that, I thought we could take a pull up and we went all the way to the rim. So just maybe a little bit off that way. And one of the things with our team that I would say we've struggled at times is when we do miss a couple shots, it can impact your defense. And I thought in those segments in the second or in the first and third quarter, we were just a step slow, maybe thinking about it too much and then not getting a stop on the other end.
All those looks had Virginia Tech thinking. It looked like it kind of flowed that way where they, a step slow. It's often on the offensive end executing, and then even defensively, where Virginia Tech's mind was kind of in quicksand, and ultimately the mental it's not the physical fatigue, it's the mental fatigue of having to account for all of that caught up to the Lady Hokies. Meanwhile, number 3, Liberty lost at Nevada over the weekend. And look, whether they won the NIT or not, obviously there was a level of disappointment just from not having made it further in the tournament. But I think Richie McKay really hit the nail on the head about how a lot of people felt in terms of the sadness, mostly being the fact that it's now officially the final time that Kaden Matheny, Colin Porter, and Zach Cleveland will play together. You don't hear Richie McKay get this emotional, but he was asked about it being the last game and the impact on the program of these seniors.
Yeah. I hate last games because that question invokes the reality that I won't get to coach him again. And he and Colin and Caden, in an era in which it's about me or about mine. They stayed for less money. They trusted us. They chose us. And one of our assistant coaches, or our associate coach, Derek Johnson, said in our locker room, he said, "Thank you guys for choosing us." And yeah, I probably can't give you a great description other than I'm just trying to remember what I was told to make sure you don't be sad that it's over. Be happy that it occurred, and I'll try and live in that posture because he's special. They all are, but Colin, Caden, and Zach especially.
And that's what everybody's known for a while, and it's a lot easier to admit that now that the season's over and you don't have to worry about certain players getting offended that Colin, Caden, and Zach are special. But, I mean, that's the way the fans feel as well, is Liberty fans feel particular about that. And it's not to put down, a Josh Smith or an Isaiah Enan, but there's a group that played a couple of years there. There's some guys like a J.C. Shire who contributed a lot outside, but not necessarily getting a lot of minutes. But then they're the big three that really did, and they stepped up not only in terms of leadership, but in production and being able to be ultimate team people in an era where I don't begrudge players for it being about them, but it's really hard to find that bond at every single place. Meanwhile, we're going to do a double dose on the JMU Lady Dukes in
Number 2.
1. They lost. They fell down early. Like, initially, it was, you blink and it's 27-9 in that game. They were never really in it. And Sean O'Regan, their head coach, had an interesting observation about how that came to be.
I'm proud of our effort. I thought we battled. I thought we had a really bad start, really bad quarter. But I give Kentucky all the credit. I mean, they made us have a bad quarter. Their length was really bothersome, and I think it affected our ability to make shots early. Affected us on the glass as well. So I give them a lot of credit. I mean, they were ready to go. They were not nervous. They didn't take us lightly. They were on every set we called. They had a game plan. They did not take us lightly. So I give them a lot of credit. It's too bad we got off to a bad start because you work all the way to get here and you want to play well, and our start was too much to overcome.
It was. It looked like the moment was too big for the JMU Lady Dukes. That's the part that's disappointing. They had a wonderful run to win the Sun Belt Conference Tournament Championship. They won their last 9 games when you include the regular season and the conference tournament. I mean, look, it's a clear step forward for Sean O'Regan's squad, and there's a lot to be proud of. But it was a game that was what ended up being like a 15-point margin at the end. And let's be real here, 27-9 early. This could have been a lot worse because Kenny Brooks basically admitted as such in
Number
1. Kentucky came out ready to roll in this one.
They had a terrific season. They gave us, all we could handle in the second half. But I'm proud of my kids. We came out, we were ready to roll. That was one of the things I was a little nervous because we hadn't played in 2 weeks and 1 day. And we had a couple of practices where I felt like they were swimming upstream when they were trying to run down the floor. It just felt like they didn't have their wind, but they did a really good job and they were ready to play. I didn't finish it like we really wanted to, but it was kind of I thought we took our foot off the pedal. But nonetheless, this is the NCAA tournament. We're very, very proud. We had a really good win against a very good opponent.
So they came out strong in the second half, but there's a reason for it because you don't hear this very often, but Kenny Brooks essentially just admitted that they let off the gas.
You know what? When we were very fortunate to get up as much as we were, and we have a game on Monday night, and whichever opponent it is was sitting there watching us. So we were going to be as vanilla as possible. We weren't going to try to do anything. If that was a normal game and that was the end and we didn't play another game for a while, we would have done a lot of things differently. And that's nothing against what JMU did in the second half. Kudos to them. But we kept it very vanilla. And when you play in a tournament and you got great coaches like Mark and Glenn, they're sitting there watching you and watching your calls. You're not going to run everything. You're not going to show them a lot. And so we went very vanilla in the second half.
Well, there it is. We went very vanilla in this. I mean, look, that is code for we took off the gas. Like if we had to press the accelerator, we would have done that. But if not, we didn't have to do that. And I guess it's working at least through the first quarter because after one, Kentucky, the Lady Wildcats do have a 20-15 lead at the Lady Mountaineers. They're playing that game in Morgantown, West Virginia. But, look, let's be real here. This was a blowout. It could have been worse. And, it's just disappointing for JMU. Great season, but it came to an end in an unfortunate way for them. We do need to get to NASCAR. We have a lot more to discuss. But when we return in the fast lane, more on the JMU Lady Dukes, a deeper dive into the Virginia Cavaliers and the Little Washington Commanders draft thoughts and observations now that majority, at least the early waves of free agency, have settled down. All that when we return. And by the way, a quick programming note, Virginia Tech, we'll get to that Wednesday or Thursday in the Fast Lane. We're kind of juggling schedules with NASCAR at Martinsville this week. So we have no show tomorrow. We'll obviously keep you posted at TJ_Wilkerson8 and Fast Lane Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Otherwise, you'd be hearing TJ, but no show Tuesday or Friday. So we're kind of on a condensed look this week. So you have to deal with more of me than TJ. And for that, I apologize. But we bring you back from that with guests in covering the Commonwealth next here in the Fast Lane.
Do you love the 80s? Whether you were Team Madonna or Prince, this night is for you. Hi, I'm Kelly Diaz with Casa of Central Virginia, inviting you to Retro Rewind, our totally rad 80s party for a great cause. Join us April 11th from 6 to 10 at the Boonesboro Ruritan Club for an awesome 80s DJ, arcade games, dance floor, and more. Best of all, every ticket helps Casa volunteers advocate for children who have experienced abuse or neglect in our community. Grab your friends, moonwalk over to cvcasa.org, and get your tickets before they're gone.
Lunchtime just got an upgrade. Stop by Makadu for our $8.95 weekday special and grab a legendary sandwich at an unbeatable price. Choose from your favorite classics, the Coney Island, Betty Bob, Ragtime, or Stogie. Classic sandwiches packed with savory meats and flavors in between fresh bread. Make it a meal by pairing your sandwich with a sidekick, a warm cup of soup, or crispy chips. Great food, cozy vibes, and the best deal in town.
It's time to share great food and fun. Just to be there, the only one. Just to be there at Market Dues.
We'll see you at the Dues.
Spring means green lawns, open windows, and afternoons spent outdoors. At Brownstone Properties, you'll find homes with private yards, with locations near scenic walking trails, or beautiful local parks, perfect for family picnics or peaceful strolls. This season, find your place to grow. Start today at brownstoneproperties.com or call 434-385-1025. Brownstone Properties, where home is at the heart of everything we do.
When you walk into Haley's, you see the size and selection of a big box store. Over 19,000 square feet of appliances and mattresses. Leading appliances like KitchenAid, Whirlpool, Maytag, Genair, Speed Queen, GE, and Monogram. And mattresses like Sealy, Serta, and Tempur-Pedic. So what's the difference? A family, locally owned business. And a staff committed to servicing you over the entire life of the product. That means before, during, and well after your purchase. Visit Haley's today, just off Ward Road in Lynchburg. Haley's, quality that counts.
VTRN Sports is now heading to YouTube. Head to youtube.com/@VTRN Sports Lynchburg to watch both the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle and the Fast Lane with Ed Lane live each day. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and have notifications turned on. All the great local content you love with VTRN Sports is now on YouTube. Subscribe to the VTRN Sports YouTube channel at youtube.com/@VTRN Sports Lynchburg.
Hi, I'm Zach Mackey, the voice of Virginia Tech men's basketball. Catch the Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle weekdays 5 to 6 p.m. on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM and the VTRN Sports app.
Hi, this is Bill Roth, voice of Virginia Tech football. You're listening to the Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle. Join the chat at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
Well, we wrapped it up in covering the Commonwealth, or wrapped it up in the Fast 5 at 5-ish. Now we kick it off in
It's time for your teams and topics. Covering the Commonwealth, a look at teams and topics from around the Commonwealth. Let's start with the JMU Dukes.
with DNROnline.com's Shane Metlin, who is with us here in the Fast Lane. Shane, great to be speaking with you. Blink, and you might have missed JMU even taking the floor because they were down 27-9 in the blink of an eye in a game against Kentucky, which never was as close as the final score indicated. How shocked were you at just the disparity with which Kentucky looked like they were ready for the moment and JMU looked overwhelmed?
I don't know if I'd use the word shocked, but maybe a little surprised that JMU didn't come out a little bit better. But I think it's, one of those things you kind of tend to see as, a program that has NCAA tournament experience versus one that really doesn't. Peyton McDaniel played for JMU in the NCAA tournament 4 years ago. She's the only one who's done it at JMU. There's a couple other people who've, won and done in the tournament, at other schools. But as a program, they just don't really have, the NCAA tournament experience to not necessarily get overwhelmed by the moment, because I don't know if they necessarily were overwhelmed by Kentucky. I mean, really, like Kentucky had their strengths. They had great size and everything, but JMU was out running Kentucky for a lot of the game and just not putting the ball in the basket.
Could you tell being there that the JMU Lady Dukes looked overwhelmed?
I mean, it was one of those things sometimes where, they ran some sets the first few possessions of the game where they got the exact look they were wanting, and they just missed a shot. And you do kind of wonder, does it go a little bit differently if they make a couple of shots early on that, like I said, they ran set plays, they got the looks, they didn't hit the shots, and then all of a sudden they're down by 10 points, and then it's 19, and it gets out of control. So I wonder if that kind of added to the panic, where it was like, hey, we're doing what we're trying to do, and it's still not working.
DNRonline.com's Shane Metlin is hanging out with us today in the Fast Lane. Shane, is it reasonable to say this was a 71-56 loss that, Kenny Brooks all but said that we let off the gas in the second half and went really vanilla. This could have been a lot worse if it was going against anybody other than a JMU alum who did not want to embarrass his former school.
Maybe. I mean, they did run, when he talks about running, being vanilla, they didn't show a lot of stuff that, West Virginia being in the building could say, okay, this is a play call here and things like that. But they played their starters throughout the game. Like I said, like after the first quarter, even during the first quarter, JMU was outrunning. They were getting down the floor ahead of Kentucky. They were getting good looks. So I think it was a little bit of, Kentucky's not calling set plays necessarily for Clara Strack, trying to get, buckets for her. But also, JMU settles into that game and plays much, much better for the final three quarters than they did in the first 12 minutes.
Yeah, you're down 32-10 at the end of the first quarter. That's kind of where it all went sideways after that. And JMU fought, give them a lot of credit. How much of that was Peyton McDaniel and Ashanti Barnes wanting to be able to leave the right legacy of going out the right way in their final game?
Yeah, a little bit of that. Like I was talking about earlier, not hitting shots. Ashanti Barnes started that game 1 for 10. And she was the one that they were, early on, especially, they were running those plays for and getting her the looks that she normally hits. And she wasn't. She ends up with 16 points and plays really well in the second half. But, yeah, those two went out in a good style. They were able to get their exit late in the game, and it wasn't, a 30-point loss where it looked like it could have been for a while. And they get their grand send-off at JMU. But at the same time, too, that's kind of like what I was talking about earlier, where they are as a program, where, that winning the Sun Belt tournament kind of turns into like the crowning achievement. And, if you can make it to the NCAA tournament 2, 3, 4 years in a row, that doesn't necessarily feel like the pinnacle of your season anymore. And I think that might make a difference in these type of games.
Shane_DNR Sports and DNRonline.com for Shane Metlin here in the Fast Lane. Shane, we'll wrap it up on this for the JMU Lady Dukes. We progressed from being more harsh about it because their performance was not good to the fight they showed at the end, and now the legacies of McDaniel and Barnes. What legacy do JMU Lady Dukes fans need to remember, particularly the run that got them to this matchup against Kentucky?
Yeah, they're going to go down as, two of the all-time greats. Peyton McDaniel especially, because, she's 4-time All-Sun Belt player, first team several times, all-tournament team 4 years, and a Sun Belt player of the year. Somebody who stuck around JMU when she clearly could have left for almost any school she wanted to go play at. So she's going to go down particularly as one of the big names for JMU women's basketball. I think Barnes may not get her due, honestly. Part of it is she should have been a first-team All-Sun Belt player this year, but, they didn't necessarily want to put a second JMU player on there. But, she may have been the second-best player in the conference, in my opinion. And, somebody who stuck around for 3 years after transferring in, she's also someone I think should be strongly appreciated. I'm not 100% sure if she'll go down quite the same legacy, but someone that JMU fans should really appreciate.
DNRonline.com and Shane_DNR Sports to keep up with Shane Metlin with us here in the Fast Lane. Shane, great to speak with you. After this, we'll be looking ahead to a lot of spring sports where, if you're a non-revenue sport, This is the time to get your shine, and we'll start doing that in the next week or so.
All right, thanks, Ed.
We look forward to it. Shane Metlin with us here in the Fast Lane.
Now to the Virginia Cavaliers.
JerryRatcliffe.com, founder and contributor. It is well worth your subscription to JerryRatcliffe.com to catch Hootie's insight as Hootie Ratcliffe joins us now in the Fast Lane. Hootie, a pleasure to be speaking with you. The Virginia Cavaliers. We'll start off with the negative so we can get that out of the way and then go positive. And then today in women's basketball, really positive for the Lady Cavaliers. For Virginia, was it a lot of the little things that ultimately added up in a game that was pretty tight down the stretch, but it kind of felt watching it, and I'm not sure what you experienced in Philly, but it seemed like Tennessee did a lot of the little things just a little bit better.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Ed. I think Tennessee was better than people were giving them credit for. They didn't look like a number 6 seed to me. I thought they were just as good as Virginia in every aspect. So I think they might have been a little underseeded there, but Tennessee did everything they had to do. They had a good game plan. They used their length to great advantage and coming out on Virginia's three-point shooters and did a pretty good job inside the paint as well. Virginia's big men weren't quite as effective as they had been in most games. And I think other than D. Ritter, Virginia didn't do much damage inside. And he just looked like a guy who was trying to will his team to win. But give Tennessee credit. They did all the right things, and it came down to them making free throws the final 2 minutes, and they made 9 of their last 10. So when they had a chance to lock it up, they did what they had to do.
No doubt. They did. It was very impressive from Tennessee down the stretch. Well, it was the most impressive thing, though, the Vols, and they had 2 7-footers, and they're both really athletic. You've got the Ament kid who's going to be a lottery pick in all likelihood in the NBA draft. But Tennessee, it wasn't the offensive rebounding that they scored off of because they didn't really do that. But it felt like watching and certainly listening on the VTR and Sports app, your home for March Madness, that Tennessee's rebounding more prevented Virginia from being able to get out and move in transition and have that movement that makes their offense so lethal. Was that what you saw as well?
Yeah, I think so. Tennessee, both Virginia and Tennessee are really good rebounding teams, and take a lot of pride in offensive rebounding. And like you said, even though Virginia had more offensive rebounds, they just weren't able to take advantage of it as much as they normally would. They only had 9 second chance points, which is very low for them. And of course, Tennessee didn't do much better, but they did prevent Virginia from taking control like they normally do when they dominate the boards like they do. So yeah, Tennessee's length bothered Virginia all over the floor, and Ament, as you mentioned, probably a lottery pick after not scoring in the tournament opener against Miami of Ohio, was in pretty good form last night. He was 4 of 11 and finished with 16 points and made 7 of 8 free throws under pressure. So he looked pretty good. He's been playing hurt, so anything they got from him was a bonus, and certainly he contributed last night.
Hootie, big picture, and the majority of Ryan Odom's press conference, and even Testa Ritter and Dallin Hall was speaking about the accomplishments for this season and the program being headed in the right direction. Are you confident in that sentiment, even with 5 seniors departing, and who knows how the financials will work out to retain the other players that contributed significantly?
Yeah, I think so. I think the future looks pretty bright. They got a good put down a good framework for how to keep this program in the limelight. I don't think money is going to be a problem, at least no time soon. I think they've gotten substantial contributions over the past year that will help them with that and going after talent. They do lose 5 seniors, but if they're able to, I know Sam Lewis said he's coming back. If they can retain some of the other guys, particularly DeRitter, and I guess a lot of people are wondering what he might do. They could have essentially 4 starters back if you count Grunlow and DeRitter and Lewis, and then Mallory is like having a starting point guard returning. So they would have a really good nucleus to build around, and they had a couple of redshirt guys that we don't know much about in terms of how good they are, and certainly they should be able to go out and acquiesce some talent out of the NIL portal. The transfer portal.
I might as well be the NIL portal. That's not
exactly.
That's not an inaccurate comment. It's just not the technically officially correct term for it, Hootie. We'll pivot off of the Virginia men's team to the women's team. I mean, I thought beating Georgia was icing on the cake. Is this like an overdose of icing today, beating Iowa, even though it took 2 overtimes to knock off one of the bigger programs in women's basketball and move to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2000?
Yeah, that was huge for this program. I don't think anybody saw that coming, and especially essentially on Iowa's home floor, which I think they had like 15,000 fans there. That was huge to be able to pull that off in overtime. And as usual, Mo Johnson was spectacular. She had 14 points in the overtime periods, and for them to battle like that and get it into overtime and then pull it out was remarkable. And it's really the shot in the arm that program needed and has needed for so long. It's been a long time since Virginia women's basketball was relevant. Certainly now that we're going to face number 3 seed TCU on Saturday in Sacramento, and I mean, gosh, who knows? If you can knock off Iowa essentially on its own home floor, you might be able to continue to keep this magic going.
Your dog is optimistic that's going to happen, Hootie. We're pet
He's
lovers.
a big fan of your show, Ed.
Somebody likes me. Trey's dog likes me a lot, too.
Yeah, I told you.
It's amazing. Dogs love me. People, not so much. Hootie, a pleasure to speak with you. We'll have some fun talking about that the next time. We'll keep it locked to jerryratcliffe.com for all the insight as our dog reminds us. What's your dog's name, by the way?
Gecko. He's not like a gecko. He weighs about 150 pounds. So he's a big fan.
Dude, he's a big fan because he probably looks just like me. He weighs about what I weigh. Bring me in there. We'll get knocked over. Hootie, tell Gecko hello. Give him an extra belly rub today.
I'll do that.
Always glad to do it. When we return in the fast lane, by the way, we're going to do a little bit different on covering the Commonwealth. Remember, Virginia Tech, we will get to that on Wednesday or Thursday to be determined. We're working around the NASCAR schedule, just giving you guys the ups on that because it's NASCAR weekend at Martinsville. We'll talk NASCAR normally anyway, including next in covering the Commonwealth, techsideline.com later this week in the fast lane. But when we return, NASCAR Commanders and the Hill City Howlers Fan Fest coming Saturday. Oh, I exhaled when I heard the news today. We'll explain what that means next in the fast lane.
Get more on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your trusted dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years. With more selection, more value, and more finance options. Plus, your trade is worth more. Shop local and save more with straightforward pricing, plus exceptional service and selection. Your search ends at the Motor Mile. Choose from over 900 quality pre-owned vehicles, plus a massive selection of new car brands in Southwest Virginia. Honda, Hyundai, Toyota, Subaru, Kia, Chevrolet, Mitsubishi, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and now Buick. Plus, the used car superstore. 12 new car brands, 900 used vehicles, one amazing buying experience. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got more than any other dealer in the area. The Sheeler Motor Mile delivers choices. Here's the difference. Sheeler owns the finance company and makes getting approved for credit simple and easy on the Motor Mile. Flexible financing options for every budget to get you on the road fast. Get more on the Sheeler Motor Mile with a certified friendly staff and no games, no gimmicks. The Sheeler Motor Mile, now in Christiansburg, Radford, and Pulaski. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Spring's here, finally. So visit Leesville Landscape Supplies for a slam dunk on your next home or business landscape project. Get the region's best mulch, plus decorative stone, propane, block, and hardscape materials, routine lawn care. Leesville Landscape Supplies has grass seed, fertilizer, straw, and topsoil, even hardwood mulch, dyed mulch, pine mulch, gravel, and sand. Start your spring project at Leesville Landscape Supplies at the corner of Water Lake and Leesville Road in Lynchburg. And pick there or have it delivered. Search 24/7 at LeesvilleLandscapes.com.
Hi, I'm Susan Lane, Ed's mom. March Madness brings lots of picks, but I have only one, Bartlett Tree Experts. I rely on Bartlett to professionally assess my oaks and boxwoods and to prepare a maintenance plan within my budget. Call Corey, a certified arborist, at Bartlett Tree Experts or go to bartlett.com.
When the thrill of playing ball turns into the agony of a broken windshield or car window, contact Apple Auto Glass. Your local auto glass repair shop on Allegheny Avenue in Lynchburg, Apple Auto Glass provide a professional assessment with the honesty from your neighbors, so you can get back to sharing the great moments this season.
Do you love the 80s? Whether you were Team Madonna or Prince, this night is for you. Hi, I'm Kelly Diaz with Casa of Central Virginia, inviting you to Retro Rewind, our totally rad 80s party for a great cause. Join us April 11th from 6 to 10 at the Boonesboro Ruritan Club for an awesome 80s DJ, arcade games, dance floor, and more. Best of all, every ticket helps Casa volunteers advocate for children who have experienced abuse or neglect in our community. Grab your friends, moonwalk over to cvcasa.org, and get your tickets before they're gone.
Building your dream home from the ground up? Farmers Bank is here to make it happen. Our construction lending team understands that building is more than a project. It's your future taking shape. We offer local decision-making, personalized guidance, and flexible financing options designed to move with your timeline. From lot purchase to final build, we'll walk alongside you every step of the way. Let's build something lasting together. Farmers Bank, your community, your bank, your future.
Whether you're facing a tough season or looking for support to overcome life's obstacles, Central Virginia Counseling is here for you. Central Virginia Counseling is accepting new clients at both Lynchburg locations on Wigington Road and Timberlake Road. And telehealth is available anywhere in Virginia. Serving children, teens, and adults, our counselors are equipped with diverse skill sets to help you on your journey. For more information, visit us at centralvirginiacounseling.com.
Fresh all-you-can-eat sushi for $30.99? That alone sounds impossible. But it's not only possible, there's actually more to it at New Yamada Sushi and Sake in Forest. For $30.99, you can eat as much fresh sushi as you'd like. And you can include ramen and barbecue. It's the perfect variety for anyone craving a full Japanese feast of fresh, tasty, and all-you-can-eat. New Yamada Sushi and Sake in Forest on Gristmill Drive behind the Graves Mill Center.
Monday in the morning warm-up, Ty and I completely broke down the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament now that the Sweet 16 is set, including Virginia's heartbreaking loss to Tennessee, preventing them from going to the Sweet 16 in year one under Ryan Odom. Tuesday, we're talking the National Football League. Lake Lewis, Commanders and NFL Insider joins us. So join us in the morning warm-up, weekday morning, 7 to 8 a.m. on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, 1320 a.m., and on the VTRN Sports app.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
Time to get my usher on for a moment in the Fast Lane. It has been a while since I've confessed, and it's Lent, but I have not given a thought about sports betting. I've still kept my word. None of that during Lent. But I do need to get to the voice guy because of part one of covering the Commonwealth. It didn't arise. But in part two, well, here we go.
It's time for your teams and topics. Covering the Commonwealth. A look at teams and topics from around the Commonwealth. Let's start with
the Hill City Howlers. That's terrible, but it's the best I could do because the voice guy, I have not gotten in touch with him You know him as Vic Morin because he's our NHL guy when the NHL playoffs get here, he and his colleague, Neil Smith. But it's the Hill City Howlers. Season is getting ever closer, and their broadcaster, Jason Prill, is with us in the fast lane. Jason, when FanFest takes place, is that to you the unofficial kickoff or opening pitch, if you will, of Howlers season, which this year's version, FanFest, Saturday, 12 to 4 p.m. over at City Stadium?
Yeah, you know what, Ed? I think you're exactly right. It really is kind of that kickoff to the season, and it's kind of an unofficial kickoff to summer as well. I know we're a couple months away from the official turn to the summer solstice, but it really feels like when FanFest hits, everything starts to warm up. The weather gets a little bit better. The excitement starts to build, and baseball season has finally arrived again in the Hill City. So I love FanFest. It's one of my favorite days of the whole season, and I know the team and the front office and a lot of the fans are so excited to be back in City Stadium this coming Saturday.
Yeah, it's cool on Saturday, and really the stadium kind of gets christened for the season, of course, with the Ronnie Roberts Classic. We'll get to the FanFest on Saturday in a moment. But Ronnie Roberts Classic. Big games are on Thursday, which is the varsity action. Amherst and LCA at 5, followed by Rustburg and Brookville, and the JV contest is that Friday, JF and Liberty. So you're covering a lot of teams in the area with this. How much has this grown? I remember its first year way back in my day. It was a showcase event in the summer. This has now evolved into a real cool opportunity for high school teams in the area to get their action at City Stadium.
Yeah, you know what, Ed? This is probably one of our favorite events that we get to put on year in and year out because of just what Ronnie Roberts meant to the community. He was such a staple, and he was so passionate about investing back, about giving back to the fans, about giving back to the community, and about making sure that everybody had fun when they stepped inside the ballpark. And that's what we get to provide for a bunch of these high school kids who knows when their careers are going to end, who knows how much longer they're going to be able to play for, but they're going to get to play a game in a minor league ballpark, a professional baseball stadium in front of a crowd of family and friends. And that's special, and it's grown so much since the first year, which happened in part of COVID, to give the seniors an opportunity, one last chance to take the field wearing their school colors. And now it's a whole kind of round robin affair where teams get to play other teams in the community. And it's so cool to be able to bring all these high schools in there, showcase some really talented high school athletes, and just get to watch high school baseball and celebrate our own community.
It is. It's a real neat thing. This event has evolved into a showcase for some of the biggest teams in the Seminole District, and that's Thursday at 5 p.m., game one of the doubleheader for high school baseball, the Seminole District, over at City Stadium. Kind of a kickoff to the weekend, which is capped off Saturday with FanFest, 12 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. First of all, it's a genuine thank you to you and your staff over there, Jason, that this event is in the afternoon because we've got soccer, we've got all sorts of activities with the kids early in the day. But the latter part of the day, I'm in town alone with 2 7-year-old boys, and I need something fun to do, and this item fits the bill perfectly.
Well, we're glad to help you out. We hope it's going to be a great time. We know it's going to be a great time. I mean, there's a petting zoo, a bounce house. You can take batting practice on the field. It's just going to be a great opportunity for fans to have something free and safe and fun in our community, to come out, get ready for the season, enjoy a beautiful day at the ballpark without the stress of having to sit around and try to keep kids entertained for 2.5 hours of a baseball game. They get to come and they get to have fun. They get to run around and play different games and just enjoy an afternoon. There's going to be live music, and it's all free. It's an opportunity just to welcome people back. It's been a long winter, but summer's arriving. It's closer than it's been any day prior, and Saturday kind of welcomes us back into summer. So we're excited to welcome fans back for our summer season coming up in just a few weeks, but beginning on Saturday with FanFest. We just love putting this event on because we love the community. We love bringing people in. We love getting to see smiles on people's faces.
Lynchburg Hillcats broadcaster Jason Prill is with us in the fast lane.
Whoa, Ed.
Yeah, virtual swear jar. I know. Hill City Howlers broadcaster.
There you go.
TJ, you are on it today, calling me out. By the way, all right. I got to give it's an excuse. It's not an explanation. This is an excuse. But it's because I was looking at the yard sale that begins at 9 a.m. this coming Saturday. And the best part is, and this is the reassuring part to you listeners out there, Jason, even though the yard sale begins at 9 o'clock on Saturday, there will still be items in the noon to 4 window that I can still purchase from this yard sale, correct?
Absolutely. This is going to be going on all day from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. while supplies last, but there is a lot of stuff that we're getting rid of. We have furniture, we have couches, bar stools, chairs, cabinets, appliances. We have gear and clothing and apparel that has been around for years that we're now getting rid of. And so it's going to be a great opportunity if you ever wanted to purchase something from the ballpark. If you're in need for a couch, it's basically going to be Facebook Marketplace in person. We got a lot of great stuff. I took a look at some of the couches the other day. They are in pristine condition. These are really nice pieces of furniture, really nice pieces of gear that we're selling. And so come on out. 9 a.m. is when it starts, but they're going to be selling stuff all day up until when we're able to run out. We got plenty of supplies, but it's going to be there for a little while.
Saturday, City Stadium, Hill City Howlers Fan Fest and the yard sale. Yard sale at 9, Fan Fest noon. They both wrap up around 4 p.m. Lots of fun activities. Jason, look forward to seeing you at the ballpark in a couple of days.
Absolutely. I can't wait.
Indeed. We need the Bart Scott sound effect, by the way. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I got you covered.
Wonderful. I need that at some point in time. If I'm professional, I would have just thought and done this myself right now, but clearly as an amateur, that did not happen. Meanwhile,
Now to just for you haters, left hand up the Commanders.
technically a tie because Bowie TV, I got it right now. Bowie TV Sports, Madam President, Candy Waller is with us in the fast lane. They do cover the Baltimore Ravens, but for the purposes of our chat today, Seawall, we will talk Washington Commanders. I must ask you, though, do you remember the infamous Bart Scott can't wait, even though it's when he left the Ravens for a franchise that rarely, but in that time, somehow made the playoffs?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, being from this area, you kind of take in all of the things that happen with the teams, even if they're up the beltway some.
Candy Waller with us here in the fast lane. Seawall, we will pivot off of that to the Washington Commanders. Is this a reasonable overview? This is where I get to have an opinion and then you get to debunk it or, offer more insight. The Washington Commanders free agency did not put them in a spot where they will no longer draft a position, but it put them in a spot where they now don't feel like they have to force a pick or a decision, whether it's at 7 or in later rounds.
And I think you're spot on. We are just now today, right, a month out from the NFL draft. So this is going to get interesting really fast. I really, truly believe, to your point, that this is a situation where sitting at 7, the Washington Commanders cannot go wrong. It's easily best player available, and whomever that best player that's still available is would be a steal for the Washington Commanders.
When you're looking at it for the Commanders, are you in, trade back mode because they have enough holes? Are you in, hey, it may not happen anytime soon that you're picking this high, and because the quarterback's going to go one Mendoza, then one of the other 7 generational type athletes in this draft, you're going to get one of them. Are you firmly in the camp on yourself of what the Washington Commanders should do if Seawall is making the decision?
I am firmly standing on do not trade back. Stick with the 7. Just stick with the 7. I think it's one of those drafts where anyone that goes in the top 10 is going to be phenomenal for the organization that he is going to go to. So I'm not trading back too far, and I wouldn't trade back at all, honestly. I would just stay at 7. The only thing that would be crazy is if Mendoza didn't go at 1. But we all know that's what's going to happen. So that would be the thing that turns the whole night upside down. But everything from like 2 to 7, that's like 5 picks, right? That it could literally be anyone that would be an asset to this organization.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of options for the Washington Commanders. Now it's a matter of just putting grades in place and getting an idea of what that is. Clues. Do you have any for the Commanders? Or right now, is there enough of a mesh of where the Commanders could maybe not have a hole, but use an upgrade with the players that they would likely pick at 7, that this could go in a number of different directions?
It could go in a number of different directions. I think folks are still trying to see if the Commanders are going to do anything at wide receiver. I think there's still a topic of conversation to say, if you are not going to re-sign Bobby Wagner, if he is not coming back, does that mean that Jordan McGee is your Mike linebacker? Does that mean you're going to do Mike by committee? I think that's something to at least look at. And then everybody is talking about Jeremiah Love. So, yes, the Commanders do have 4 running backs on the roster currently, right, based on what the moves they've made in free agency. And, of course, we still have Bill, Krosky Merritt. But if Jeremiah Love is there, don't you take him, right? And then, of course, there's Caleb Downs, safety, dynamite. And I don't know. I just named like 4 different positions there that they could go, and these players could absolutely still be available. Oh, not to mention David Bailey or Ruben Bain still at edge rusher. So one of those players is still going to be there at 7.
Well, we look forward to Seawall's homework showing, because that's when we'll have an idea of who she wants the Commanders to select. We're not putting you on the spot with that today, Seawall. We'll monitor the wide receiver position. You have warned us about that, and we'll start diving more into prospects in the next few weeks.
Absolutely. I can't wait. And I'll be talking to you guys again soon.
Oh, TJ and I are draft nerds, so this thing is going to get more fun and spicy in the not too distant future.
Well, since you guys are draft nerds, let me just go ahead and break some news about where I'll be this week. I am going to Ohio State's Pro Day.
You are. Well, I mean, there are 4.
I'm not saying to use your clues, but what I am saying is I'm going to Ohio State's Pro Day.
Well, as LeBron will remind us, there are
Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4.
actually there are about 4 prospects that the Commanders could select, with the 2 defensive linemen plus Caleb Downs and Carnell Tate with that pick in the number 7 slot. So there are a lot, Seawall. You're doing the right spot. If there's a pro day to go to, that's it.
Exactly. So, I got to make sure I come back and give you all the details when I get back.
We look forward to it. Candy Waller with us here in the Fast Lane on W227 BG Timber Lake, WVGMM Lynchburg, WMNA, Gretna, Danville, Southside.
And last but not least, or maybe least, NASCAR.
With Dalton Hopkins of frontstretch.com, at Oh No It's Dalton on Instagram, which is a phenomenal handle, and at Pit Lane CPD on Twitter. Dalton, great to be speaking with you in the Fast Lane. We're going to go with the obvious here in the Fast Lane, which first of all is...
I know that's obviously common sense. Thank you, Magic Johnson tweet right there.
Yes, Magic Johnson tweet right there from your colleague, Brian Nolan of frontstretch.com. But Magic Johnson had the tweet of the week. Another great accomplishment for my good friend Michael Jordan and his NASCAR Cup Series driver, Tyler Reddick, who won the Darlington Raceway yesterday. And that's the end of the tweet. Jokes aside, how big is this for NASCAR that if a driver is going to win 4 races in the first 6 to start the year, it's one that is tied to Michael Jordan, and he keeps getting center stage for the sport on national TV and beyond.
Yeah, I was talking to Adam Stern about this yesterday on pit road before the race even began, and we were already talking about it before Tyler Reddick even won for a 4th time. But we were saying that, yeah, this is publicity you can't buy. I mean, this is what NASCAR has really been wanting for the last few years. But it's just the cards didn't fall right into place. I mean, we had a little bit of moment in 2022, 23 with Pitbull and Trackhouse and Ross Chastain with the Hail Melon. That was a big moment for the sport. And I mean, all the way to the point where it was number 1 on SportsCenter. Well, when was the last time a NASCAR race was on SportsCenter? So it's a good thing to see so much attention being given to really a team that has been successful for the last few years, but one that has also had a great story behind it as well with Michael Jordan, but also its team owner and Denny Hamlin, who, I mean, let's face it, probably had the biggest heartbreak I would gather in NASCAR history at the end of last year. So to see NASCAR on ESPN, to see NASCAR on national news, and by the way, Tyler Reddick, yes, great, talented race car driver who's won 4 out of the first 6 races this year, only the 3rd in history to do it. But also you got Bubba Wallace on that team too, and who is just a sponsor magnet. So this is a big deal, also a household name at this point. So this is a big deal for NASCAR. It's a big deal for 23XI. And I mean, the more they win, the more eyes are on the sport.
Are we at the point now where just by virtue of winning these first 4 races and setting themselves up to be one of those top 5 drivers, which is most people's spot for the coveted chase when you get there, being in that top 5, they're almost a lock for that we need to start viewing this team, 23XI's Tyler Reddick team in particular, as a very serious threat to be one of those 5 that could contend for a NASCAR championship this year?
I think they're already there. I think that, I mean, I know it's so early, right? I know we're only 6 races in, and there's 26 races in the regular season, but when you have a 95-point lead ahead of second place, that's over That's over a whole race. We're almost getting into 2 race territory here. I mean, and he's been consistent for the last 2 weeks too. For the 2 races he didn't win, he's still been consistent. So that 45 team, I don't know what it is, but they figured something out. I mean, look, let the conspiracy theories fly, right? 2311 kind of, sort of, settles, sort of wins a lawsuit against NASCAR, and suddenly they're 4 for 6 in the first 6 races. Oh, and by the way, the owner of that team also has a win. So really, it's 5 for 6 in the first 6 races of the season. So you can put your tinfoil hats on there, but I'm not going to entertain that. I think 2311 is actually just fast. And I think despite the fact that, yes, Tyler Reddick was winless last year, and he has struggled in the last year or two or so, that Toyota, they're the best Toyota team, I think, right now, even above Joe Gibbs. I think 2311, Tyler Reddick right now, they're a lock for not only the top 5 in the chase, but I would even gather, I think Reddick is probably he might be in contention to win the regular season championship.
I mean, at this point, it's hard not to see that scenario, even though it's 6 races into the schedule. Number 7 is going to be at Martinsville Speedway. Look, I got to go there with you, Dalton. It's Dalton Hopkins of frontstretch.com is with us in the fast lane. Your colleague, Brian Nolan, keeps saying, is this the weekend where Ty Gibbs is going to finally get to victory lane? And I have told him repeatedly, no. It has to happen in front of Trey Lyle, Michael Massey, and myself in Martinsville so that I can be unsufferable for those 2 individuals. Are you on board that we're getting closer?
If there is any justice in this world, Ed, it will happen with you standing right next to Michael Massey and Trey Lyle. That Ty Gibbs will win. And you know what? Man? We're getting close. Top 10s for the last 4 races. 3 of them top 5. This is the best start to a season that Ty Gibbs has ever had in the Cup season. What a difference a year makes. At this point in the year, he hadn't even had a top 10. Now he's got 4. I think, and you can see on his face too, the emotion, the way he talks, the way he presents himself. Something's different about him. He just seems happier all of a sudden. So you can ask most of the people in the media center, because I talked to him about it. A lot of them agree. He just looks like he's having more fun this year. So if there's any justice in this world, he will win at Martinsville, and you can brag about it all you want to Michael Massey and Trey Lyle's face.
Oh, I am going to be detested by the end of Sunday at how ridiculous this is, especially because I'm not a night guy, so it'll be later in the afternoon or early evening. I'll be running on fumes, and they'll have to deal with me in that regard. Not to mention the next week in the fast lane, it will just be unbearable for them. Pivoting off of that, though, who's closer to challenging Toyota? Is it Ford or Chevy right now?
Oh, there's no doubt it's got to be Ford, right? I mean, look at what happened with Chevrolet on Sunday. Look what happened to Chevrolet yesterday. Kyle Larson ran up front for a little bit, led a few laps, but then where did he go? He kind of faded near the end, and the top running Chevrolet at the end was Carson Hocevar, who finished 4th. So I don't want to say that they've got a problem. It's definitely not time to hit the panic button or anything, but I think the Chevrolet body might be presenting more challenges than maybe they thought they were going to be. I don't think they've fallen off quite like they did in 2018 or 2019. I don't think we're there, but I'm sure we'll get a Chevrolet win here soon. I'm sure Kyle Larson will do what Kyle Larson does here soon. And let's not forget, Martinsville is basically Hendrick Motorsports' home. So I would expect something to happen as soon as this weekend. However, you look at the RFK cars that just ran on Sunday. Brad Keselowski arguably should have won that race, led the most laps. Chris Buescher was running up front as well. Even Ryan Preece was there. Ryan Blaney is still very fast. Austin Cindric got a top 10. The Ford guys are still running up near the front. I mean, not 2311 fast for now, but I think they've got an edge over Chevrolet at the moment.
Well, we will see what all transpires. We appreciate it. Thank you for your time, Dalton Hopkins, in the fast lane. And yes, if the world is any bit just, not only will Ty Gibbs win this weekend, but somehow my prayer of a request to interview him before the race will be granted. He'll win. Then I'll get him back on. And then Trey will just have to really endure one of the most brutal 2-week stretches in Virginia Talk Radio Network and frontstretch.com history.
Just for the sake of having to listen to Trey squirm, I hope that happens, Ed.
Yes, that's all that we need. Dalton Hopkins, thank you for your time. Glad you got to enjoy Darlington. And I pray that you got to enjoy My Place Hotels, which is a big upgrade over the America's Best Value Inn that's down there in just outside of Darlington, which my wife and I, we went in there, but I wouldn't say we really got under the sheets or even on top. We just kept our clothes on, had a hoodie on, and somehow survived. That's a story for a different day.
A pleasure as always, Ed. Yeah, My Place Hotels, great hotel chain, and Billy's Tequila.
Yeah, we
tequila.
We needed a lot of it if we were going to be down there for that. We would have needed a ton. Instead, it seemed like a lot of the people around us had a lot, if you catch our drift. Dalton, thank you for your time today in the Fast Lane.
Pleasure as always, Ed.
Dalton Hopkins to wrap up the Fast Lane with us. Tonight, we got a little NBA action, Mavs and Warriors. Then we are off tomorrow, Virginia Tech baseball. They try to keep the momentum of the series win against Duke, rolling at East Tennessee, ETSU. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we're back, TJ and me in the Fast Lane with guests to be determined on the VTRN Sports app, and ask that smart speaker, open VTRN Sports.
At 6'9", he can make shots inside and outside. He's another post-up player and a long defender.